I think my big fear, to be honest with you, is that they say people are born in three ways. They have three major things that they think about. One is how they die. They're very afraid of like how that day is going to happen. Two is what happens after they die. And then there's a third category of people who have this fear that they're not going to get everything that they want to get done in life before they die. That is me.
Nell Daly, who's the founding and managing partner of Revenge Capital, an impact-focused investment firm backing overlooked and underestimated founders.
If 97% of all venture capital dollars in the US go to men, people need to be provocative. Revenge is my personal mission. And it was the team's mission to say, we're creatives. We're people from outside this industry that want to change something. We want to also model disruption.
Welcome to Screw It, Just Do It, the show for those who decided to screw it and just did it. I'm Alex Chisnall, host of this podcast and co-founder of the Festival of Entrepreneurs at the NEC in Birmingham this October 8th and 9th. This is the podcast that brings you face-to-face with the entrepreneurs and business rebels who threw caution to the wind and built something extraordinary. Quick heads up, registration is now open for this year's Festival of Entrepreneurs. Join us at the NEC in Birmingham on October the 8th and 9th for 2 game-changing days with 200 plus speakers and thousands of ambitious founders. Get your free limited 2-day pass at festivalofentrepreneurs.co.uk or click my personal link in the show notes. Welcome, Nell.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Alex.
Absolute pleasure. So without any further ado, let's dive straight in. You've raised a $70 million fund as a former social worker. Obvious question, how did you do it?
Yeah, well... Do we do the long answer or the short answer? Listen, I think that someone really amazing, actually, who works at iHeart, said to me one day in a meeting, life is leverage. And I thought, what a great t-shirt slogan that would be. And I, as a therapist, I'm really relationship-based. Right? Everything has to do with your relationships and how deep they are and the quality of your relationships. I'm also incredibly extroverted. So I meet a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people. And over the course of the last 6 years, I just networked my balls off. Let's just get out there. Let's just say it. And I had this vision in my head that I wanted to actually be the money. I didn't want to ask for money anymore. I didn't want to co-source capital. I wanted to actually be the money. So when I was treating patients, I realized that a major issue was that people were depressed because they couldn't live up to their dreams, right? Or they couldn't live out their dreams, I should say. They didn't have the money to do it. They were stuck in toxic relationships with bosses or in their own private lives, and they couldn't get out of it. And I thought there has to be a better way to solve depression and anxiety by changing people's economic, trajectories. And I just got this idea in my head that I wanted to help people make a lot of money. And I knew that I couldn't put my kids through college doing what I was doing, even though I was in private psychotherapy at that point. So I just started to really network, and it was a cascading effect. And I think that it's important to teach people that there's just a domino effect to the small decisions that you're making every single day. So, for example, I was still doing a lot I have a journalism degree. I was still doing a lot on radio and on television. I did an interview with a woman named Shelley Zalis because I was asked by Facebook to do something around Facebook Live, and they paid me to do that. I interviewed her. Then she offered me a job a year later. I took the job. I ended up at the World Economic Forum with that job out late one night because she was exhausted and needed to get some sleep. And I said, don't worry, I'll take our clients out and entertain. And I don't drink very much, so I can work the room without being like a total slug at the bar. And I just met a bunch of guys right before the pandemic, stayed in touch with them. And that relationship led to me meeting somebody in LA over Zoom, which led to me meeting the guys that I did the first fund with, which was the Together Group guys. Did that for a couple years, and then, just decided to take a chance and step out on my own, and with their blessing, thank God. And yeah, I was at a meeting, met a guy, asked him for breakfast 6 months later because I was having difficulty getting into venture capital firms in the UK. And over that breakfast, I just pitched him the idea spontaneously. and having no, I mean, you can, the thing that's such a mind fuck about being an entrepreneur, and you know this, Alex, is that you, it's like you don't know when to stop. It's like a gambling problem, right? Because you're like, any kind of conversation or any situation I find myself in could be the thing that unlocks the thing. And you just don't know. You just don't know. And so sometimes it's really difficult to, and there's a lot of naysayers. There's a lot of people, especially in my life, who are like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why do you think you can do this? Why do you think you can change careers? You should work in the school system. You should have your summers off. Don't travel so much, be around your kids more, like all these things, all this kind of noise in the background. And you just keep continuing to have this vision that keeps popping in your head. And I had a great quote recently, which was, God wouldn't put the vision there if he didn't mean for me to try to live it out. And I thought that was a really beautiful thing, but also incredibly dangerous because I've worked with mentally ill people who have lots of visions. You know what I mean? So it's like you're always questioning, like, am I crazy to be thinking that I can do this thing? And and it's very difficult too when you're raising capital because you could have this idea and you could get 1,000 no's and it just takes one yes to change your life. And so when do you keep pursuing it and when do you pull back? And I work with entrepreneurs now all the time who are in that situation because I now am in the beautiful, I have the beautiful privilege every day of listening to entrepreneur stories and hearing their dreams and seeing if if I'm the right fit for them and they're the right fit for me to be on their journey with them and help capitalize their businesses. So that's really how I did it. There's like no mystery to it except I kept doubling down on myself and just had this idea that I wanted to actually run a fund. And by the way, I think the other thing that's really kind of messed up about life is that people are way too narrow in their thinking in terms of if you've pursued one career for a certain amount of time, it means that like you can't transition to doing something else. I didn't study economics. I didn't study finance. I'm not particularly good at math. It doesn't matter. Like these jobs, and I always told patients this, so I had to then like live by it. If you're not going to kill somebody trying something, why aren't you trying it? Yeah, if it's not gonna like really create any kind of harm to anybody, why aren't you trying it? And I think the one of the hardest things is to convince other people who are in positions of power that you actually have the brains and the wherewithal to try something new. And I just got incredibly lucky because when I met Andrew, who's my partner in this, he had seen me in a couple other meetings and actually was like, yeah, why aren't you doing this? So he wasn't asking the question, like, why do you think you can? He was like, I don't understand why you haven't been doing this for the last 10 years. And I was like, thank you.
And was he the person that kind of unlocked the door? Was he the person that you met for breakfast that managed to kind of unlock?
Yeah. And I was actually, the meeting was supposed to be about helping me find capital for a female entrepreneur in the UK. And I had been working on a project with a woman who had started a makeup brand for about 6 months, and I could not find any money. I was shocked at like how, and I was shocked having had the experience I had already had, which was helping to build the Together group. I already had relationships in the UK. I'd already been working there for a few years. That I couldn't get meetings with anybody. Like even with some track record, I still couldn't get in. And it's so hard as an entrepreneur because it feels like there's a walled system to actually speaking to somebody who is an investor. It's getting better, I think, every year, but you have to get into syndicate groups. You have to like figure out who angels are, especially if you're not well networked or you don't come from a family with wealth. I met an entrepreneur yesterday who did a friends and family round and she raised $300,000. And when she left my office, we were saying to each other, wow, that's incredible because there's nobody in my family who would have given me $3. You know what I mean? Like, where do these people come from? Like, people have family networks with money or friends with money who believe in them. Like, I didn't have any of that, to be quite honest. And so, when I met him, it was actually me pursuing someone else's dream alongside them. And through that conversation, he said, what do you really want to do? And I said, I don't want to be going around asking for money anymore. I want to have my own pot. And he said, why don't you?
Yeah. And I love that because there is that thing that you're pursuing something, and then you suddenly realized, hang on a minute, I'm actually pursuing someone else's dream. This actually isn't my dream.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of catch yourself sometimes, don't you? So I like that you kind of realize, or he asked the question and then you're actually like, actually, this is what I want.
Yeah. And I pursued a helping profession. So I'm very used to helping other people. Like, I'm built to be altruistic. I'm built to add value. And part of that is because there's a lot of things that come together to make someone have a very vibrant, healthy mind and life. And one of those is creating meaning in your own life. And a lot of that comes from giving back. I find an enormous amount of joy helping other people. And so it wasn't taxing to do that, but you're right. There's a moment where you're thinking, yeah, why am I helping everybody else? Like, I actually have this dream, which actually that dream then can go on to, again, have this cascading effect where I'm helping a lot more people than just that one entrepreneur. And it was just the right place, the right time, the right conversation. I also would say the magic of that meeting was that I didn't know who he was. So in the UK, people really do a lot of research before they meet somebody else. They look at their LinkedIn profiles. It's such a lovely quality about British people in general. Americans don't do that much research. If yeah, it just doesn't. It's a cultural thing. So if you were in Miami, Alex, I'd be like, Alex, you should go meet so and so, and I just ping you his number, and you'd call that guy, and he'd be like, yeah, totally, come to the bar, right? We're like really exuberant. We're friendly generally. We're loud. And the UK doesn't work that way. Why am I meeting them? What's the point of the meeting? Do you have any information on them? They're very prepared before they go in to meet somebody. And I didn't do any prep work before I met him. I actually thought he was a tax accountant and just thought, well, maybe this guy might know some people at venture capital firms. I actually didn't know that he was who he was. So it was through the meeting that it was unveiled to me that I had no idea who I was talking to.
And can you say who it is, or?
Oh yeah, Andrew Antonio. So he has kept a low profile for most of his career, and he built essentially multi office family group. He's a partner at Open Work, which is a fintech platform. He is a partner at Method Music. Their biggest star is Sam Smith. So he has a large real estate portfolio. He helps people invest in real estate. He's just an incredible self-made entrepreneur whose roots go back to Cyprus and lives in Weston-super-Mare and has an office in London. Like, very humble guy, in his early 50s. So he's got a long road ahead of him, and he's just done an incredible job, in his own life, building relationships and helping people with their finances. And, along the way has done well for himself. So I just thought he was somebody's tax accountant.
That's mad, isn't it? And it's funny because I feel like this, not that this is a pitch for the event for the Festival of Entrepreneurs, but I feel again that everybody that I've met through all of the small events that I was doing for 20 people, 50 people, all those coffees I met with people, all the people I've interviewed on my podcast has kind of led me to this moment. And then it's actually tapping into your network has allowed me to actually put on an event with, 100, 200 speakers or whatever. It's like, if I hadn't have done all of the other stuff, if I hadn't have started the podcast and actually just used it as a tool to reach out to people and get in the room with people that I wouldn't normally be able to get in a room with, especially in the UK, as you say, because everybody's literally, well, why should I meet them? What am I going to get from it? Whereas, like you say, you guys just, yeah, where are you? Let's just meet at Starbucks down the road or whatever. I actually had that this week, and I literally, somebody introduced me to someone. I literally spent an hour researching them before making the decision to go and send them a reply
Alex,
back.
no. Yeah.
It's kind of standard. Yeah, and again, I worked out before chatting to you on here. I kind of worked out that I've reinvented myself like 4 or 5 times over the years, but you appear to have done pretty much the same, if not more than that.
Yeah, I scare myself actually, and I'm doing this in my closet today, but I don't actually really like to shop, but I love fashion. And I was at a beautiful consignment store the other day that I love. Most of my stuff is secondhand. Most of my stuff is pre-worn. I love love picking through pieces and getting things that other people might not have, and spending a lot less money than going into a store and buying something new. And I was thinking, geez, like I get scared, I think, buying clothing because I don't know if I'm actually going to like this in 6 months. And I think that says a lot about who I am, that I'm so curious as a human being that I don't always know where I'm going to land, and things change in my life quite quickly, which makes me very resilient. I'm a shapeshifter. I also believe, though, that water finds its level. I think you end up, what you put out there in terms of love and being open and big hearted can come back to you, because you're going to find other people who match your energy. I mean, Alex, you've known me for a while now, and I'm a grafter. I will have every single conversation. I will pursue lots of different ideas to see what sticks, and eventually things do. Like, that's the beauty of living, that you realize things do happen. I would always tell patients, your dreams will come true. They just might not always come true on your timeline.
But what do you think stops people evolving in the way, say, that both you and I have pursued other things, rather than, like you say, you've trained to be a therapist, a lawyer, an accountant, or whatever, and you just see that through for the rest of your days until you lose your job and you're forced to do that. But instead, we've both, I guess, not necessarily deliberately pursued that, but opportunities have opened, doors have opened, and we've kind of got curious, and we've kind of maybe cracked the door open a little bit more, have a look inside and gone, actually, I want to try that, because, again, going back to your previous point, it isn't going to kill me.
Yeah. I wish, because I don't want to frame the conversation that somehow the way that you and I might live is better than the way that other people might live, because I'm jealous of those people. They have, like, in some ways, they have a lot more stability than I do. Right. So and believe me, like, when people ask me about my journey, I was a single mom with 3 kids and doing this, and it was sketchy. Like, it was super sketch. Like, I was living on a very, very thin line for a long time, and you have to really have the stomach to do it. And I don't know if it took years off my life. The financial stress that I faced trying to make this transition was significant and real and scary, and there was no safety net. So I don't suggest this is like the best way to live. However, I think a lot about fear. And I think I was born missing, like, a piece of what other people might have, which is just a healthy sense of fear. I think I am the type of person, I'm a Sagittarius, not that I necessarily believe in all of this stuff all the time, but if you read anything about a Sagittarius, I'm like classic Sag. I love adventure. I love talking to people. I'm generally very positive, open. I always use this metaphor. If you said to me right now, Nell, I want to swim from, where you live to England, would you do it with me? I'd say, come on, let's go to the bar. We'll have a couple cocktails and let's try. Like, just let's jump in and start doing it. Halfway through, I'd be like, Alex, this might not have been such a good idea. But I'm not good at thinking about the end game all the way through. I have a vision. I don't really focus on the pitfalls of what could happen as I'm trying to execute that vision. And so I think that has been a gift in my own life to myself, or just the way I came into this world. And again, we could kind of psychoanalyze it to the end of time, as I was trained to do. I try not to do that on myself too much, because I just believe, personality wise, I'm just like shit at forecasting. But maybe I'm not. Like, maybe part of the superpower is that it's actually a great quality if you're shit at forecasting something, because you do things that other people wouldn't do because they would sort of block themselves from trying.
I remember being in LA and places like that back in the 90s and the noughties, and a brand called No Fear, and I just remember like buying everything they had. It just like really resonated. I don't know if it's still around, but I just remember seeing that stuff like everywhere in the malls of America.
I think my big fear, to be honest with you, is that they say people are born in 3 ways. They have 3 major things that they think about. One is how they die. They're very afraid of like how that day is going to happen. Two is what happens after they die. And then there's a third category of people who have this fear that they're not going to get everything that they want to get done in life before they die. That is me. And I wonder if, Alex, when we do the Festival of Entrepreneurs, if we ask people to raise their hands,
Yeah.
if you did
Brilliant.
a qualitative or quantitative data study on which category do you fall into, if entrepreneurs are people who I literally, so let's reframe this, because like I actually have a sick amount of fear. Like it makes me nauseous thinking about it. My fear is directed to this idea that I'm not going to get it all done. And I've heard the ticking of the clock, like second by second, every waking minute of every day of my life. And I just recently took my daughter to Greece, and we get to have these long, beautiful conversations on the beach. And she was saying, Mom, I don't have that. Like, what is that like to live with that? And I was like, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
You know
No,
what I
you're
mean?
right. I have that like on a daily basis, not even on like on a weekly or.
No, it's a daily.
Yeah.
It's like it drives you. It
Yeah.
drives
It
you
does
like,
drive you.
yeah, it does drive you.
How
And
old's
then
your daughter, by the way?
she's 16.
Oh, I've got a 16-year-old daughter and an 18-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
If you're enjoying this conversation and thinking, I need to be around more people like this, then I've got the perfect solution for you. The Festival of Entrepreneurs is where 5,000 to 10,000 ambitious entrepreneurs come together to learn from the people who've actually done it. It's on October the 8th and 9th at the NEC in Birmingham, and I'm giving my listeners free 2-day passes. Real entrepreneurs, real stories, real strategies. Exactly like what you're hearing right now, but live and in person. Go to festivalofentrepreneurs.co.uk and get your free 2-day pass before they're gone. And do you ever think about, you might not, but if you hadn't have taken that first leap towards that first reinvention, where would you be today? What would you be doing? Where would Nell be?
That's a great question. There was a time in my life when I had very small children. I was married to my first husband for 12 years. This is very personal. And I would have followed him to the end of the earth. I remember saying to him one night, as I realized our lives were starting to diverge a little bit, and I wanted him to apply for jobs at universities. And I said to him, I don't even care. I'm not a small town girl. I love New York City. I love going to big cities. I'm very much a New Yorker. I love LA. I love Chicago. I love all the major cities. I love getting to spend time in London and Rome and Paris. And I said to him, if you get a job at a small Midwestern college, like in the middle of Ohio, I will follow you and I will be happy. I will make my life fit whatever we're doing as a family, and I will be very happy, because I'm a weird person in the sense that I could also spend like 2 weeks in a home in Vermont and read books. I have an art degree from, an arts from Columbia in creative writing. So I can sit in an office and read and write all day as well. So I have this weird side to me. And I often think, what happens if that had happened? What, right? And yeah, there was this like pivotal moment, and he didn't end up getting one of those jobs. And then we ended up getting divorced. And my divorce both allowed me and put my back up against the wall to perform. So a lot of people say, how did you do it? I was like, girl, I didn't have a choice. Like I moved in with my mother. This was not a sexy story, right? I moved in with my mom with 3 little kids, and I worked 24/7 for years. I was saying to someone yesterday, when I tell people I slept with my shoes on just because it was easier. Like I got to the point where because when you are a single mother with 3 little children and you make dinner and then you go upstairs and you finally wrangle every single one of those kids into bed, you still have to go downstairs and then clean the entire kitchen. There's no parallel tasking happening at the same time. And people don't realize that. Not only have you bought all the groceries, cooked all the dinner, and I'm not saying, oh, woe is me. I'm just saying I got really good at like figuring out how to put my makeup on once every other day, not like wear the same clothes, not take off my shoes, and have lots of conversations, and I just had this faith in myself. I also think, this is going to sound super weird, Alex, but if we're talking about performance, one thing I did do is I stayed very fit. Like I always woke up if I had to wake up at 5 a.m. to go for a run or go to a yoga class, I stayed fit, and I didn't stay fit for aesthetic reasons, much more so because I knew if I was going to be in the fight of life, I had to be in fighting shape. And you have to be in fighting shape because when shit comes at you on a Tuesday afternoon you never expected, that can take you out. You have to have the physical body and the mental health intact to get through that kind of stuff. And during that first divorce, I knew, oh my God, if I'm not fit, I'm going to really go down into a bad place. And I think that's the benefit of being a psychotherapist too, because you get to live vicariously through the beautiful things that your patients do and also the mistakes that they've made. And you also have to model for them, right? I can't be a total disaster and be their therapist, even though there were times in my life was certainly not perfect and I was a great therapist. Uh, so I think that really helped in terms of, and while I was running, I believe in this. And this is the beauty of psychotherapy. Psychotherapy, 80% of what you say to somebody else is what therapy is all about. It's just hearing yourself talk out loud. 20% is the response that you actually get from the therapist. You also have to realize in life that the way we communicate is very little through words. It's much more so about your nonverbal behavior in a room, the energy that you bring in, the way you move your body, all those kinds of things. And you know, I really believe in the idea of if you start to speak your dreams out loud and you have the courage to say them, even to one person who's not going to say, "What are you talking about? That's ridiculous. You're never going to be able to do that." Right? For example, I would love to win an Oscar. I'm going to say it out loud. I would love to spend at some point in my lifetime performing and being an artist again. I would love it. That would give me so much joy and pleasure, or working around more and more artists, which I'm gearing up to do every single day. I try to make that a mission of mine. And if you say it out loud, there's a lot of power in that. And they've done studies, everyone knows the Harvard study, where if the people who wrote what they wanted to get done in a journal, they were much more likely to execute it and have those dreams come true. So on my runs, and I don't know, this is kind of maybe too woo-woo for some people, but I would just say it out loud to the universe. And on my runs now, I've lost both my parents. I speak out loud my dreams to them. Yeah, out loud. And I go early in the morning because you look crazy, but I run these streets and there's no traffic yet. And I just talk to my parents and say, like, listen, you're on the other side. Dude, can you like move some furniture around up there for me and make this happen and make that happen and make sure the kids are okay? And I just have a very strong belief in once you start to speak it out or write it down, shit starts to move in your life in the right direction.
Yeah, running's good for a lot of things. I only discovered running back in 2018, and I've just rediscovered it after being injured for a post New York Marathon. But it's great for ideas that will come to you that you could work. You literally sit down, make some space to think, and nothing comes to you. Yet you go outside into nature and just run, and stuff just comes to you, right?
Yeah. And if I, with like very little childcare, working full time, I never had a maternity leave. Again, like I hate to say this, but like when people come to me and say, I don't have the time, I'm like, if I had the time, you have the time. It's awful and it sucks and it's inconvenient for people. Most of the time, it's just creating boundaries with other people to say, like, I know you want to ride here, but I'm going on a run. I'm sorry. I can get you back in an hour, or I need to get to the gym. Like, I think staying in good physical shape is really critical to being an entrepreneur.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm a huge believer in that. And when I first started as an entrepreneur, and I was in sports therapy space, and I just kept getting ill myself. And I just thought, suddenly you have that realization, well, if I'm ill, if I can't even help myself, how the hell can I help everyone else? I'm in the business of helping people, right? But if I keep taking time off for being sick, so you got to take better care of yourself. You need to eat better, you need to sleep better, you need to exercise. Like you said, I remember like seeing like 11 clients in one day when I was doing like retrained as a personal trainer, and then went to sports therapy, and I was just like that. Yes, you're chasing the money, but 11 people in one day, and I was just like exhausted. And then you're ill again, and you're just like that. Well, then you can't see those 11 clients. So
yeah, you have to be so committed. And I did that. Like I would, and what you're hearing in an office 8 to 10 hours a day as a psychotherapist. When I was pregnant with all three of my kids, I was a therapist, and I would hold my hands or put a pillow in front of my stomach because I was so afraid that the baby was like hearing these stories too. And what does that do to their makeup? Maybe we don't know, right? So I get it. I get that feeling of burnout. The people who do those careers just get so much pleasure from it long term. I'm amazed. I've some of my greatest friends are therapists, and I'm amazed they're still in practice. And I ask them every day, like, how do you do it? And I would love to go back to it as well in some capacity, but I just knew that I could do something different that might help more people than I would in my office privately. So,
which leads us perfectly back to revenge. Tell me, so you told us a little bit about who you met and how it came about, how it got started, and a little bit about the vision. What types of founders and businesses are you backing? Who is your fund for, basically?
yeah. So our fund is fully inclusive, even though I signal to the market every single day with the work that I do in terms of marketing revenge that we want to also back founders that have been traditionally overlooked. That's really important for me. So, I didn't want to have a fund that was just focused on women. I wanted it to be, I always want to try to execute a vision of the world that I want to see in the future. DEI is obviously not dead with me, but I wanted to make it so it was fully inclusive. Plus, I have a business partner who's a man, which I think is a really unique thing. A lot of women who start funds with other women, and there's nothing wrong with that. I would have loved if that had been my trajectory years ago, for sure. What happened to me is that I ended up partnering with a man, and it's a really nice balance for myself and him, that there's this like masculine feminine energy in the room. And it's been like, it's already a lot of fun. I really have, my work at the Female Quotient made me realize how important it was, because I was listening to executive conversations for a very long time with some of the top executives in the world. That's what we did. We put on these big events where we had them on stage, and I got to listen to all of their information that they had to impart to us, and the studies that they had read or the studies that they had done internally in their organizations, and how powerful it is to have diverse teams. Socioeconomic diversity is important, gender diversity, all the things we talk about, neurodiversity, age differences. And so I look to back teams that understand that fundamentally, are building cultures that support that. So I always say, if two white boys with a drink brand come to me, I'm absolutely going to look at that just as much as I would two women who come to me with a different kind of company, especially if I think I'm going to make money, to be able to continue funding other entrepreneurs who are coming down the pike. So we're fully inclusive. We are global. We are sector agnostic. So it's like anything goes with us, which is very unusual in this space. Most people hone in on a category, and most people in the US, especially, just invest in US companies. They don't necessarily go global, because Andrew's in London and I spend 3 weeks a month in New York. We are able to be global. And I wanted to be global because I love the UK so much. I am obsessed with it as a testing ground. And I wanted to be able to help the people I care about the most, over there, the entrepreneurs that I meet, to bring their businesses and help scale them into the US market. And I didn't want to take out Africa or working in the Middle East or other parts of Asia. A great question. It's such a great question. So I've boiled it down after doing this now for, a little while now. We launched Revenge officially in December in the UK market, but we've been going for about a year at that point. And there's three things that have to come together. One, I have to really enjoy the founder, and the founder has to enjoy working with me. So you want somebody who is coachable, and also it feels very reciprocal. When I was a therapist, I didn't have a chair and a couch. I wasn't in a position of power. I had two couches. And I was like, I'm in this with you. So I very much approach my relationship, which maybe isn't traditional VC, where I sort of have the power and the money and I can dictate certain things to you. That was also why it was really critical for this to be what's called an evergreen fund, because I didn't want the pressure from my LP or GP to pressure me to make sure that the business is scale in a certain amount of time to get the money back. with an evergreen fund, we can invest in things that might take more time. I wanted to stop that cycle of what I felt was bullying, a bit misogynistic. I wasn't going to participate in that. So we're a little bit different that way. But I need to feel like there's a good relationship with the founder. We need to have a real strong belief in the founder. We need to believe in the idea, because I am going to be your biggest cheerleader. I will be on stages. I will be on television. I will be doing podcasts talking about your brand, whether that's a tech company or a consumer company. So I need to really believe in it. And then you need to have your shit together in terms of your financials. You need to have a sound business plan without a crazy valuation that's actually going to eventually make money and be able to scale on a global level. Yeah, then it's done. Usually it's like buying a house. Usually it's like, shit, I love the house. I love the bathroom. I love the master bedroom, but weird location. You know what I mean? Like there's always something kind
Oh,
of,
it hasn't got a garden. Oh, man.
yeah, exactly. Like roof deck, but not a garden, or like garage, but up on a busy road. So it's very much like when people come in, you want them to nail all three of those factors. And you also want the entrepreneur to know that if they're not good at the financial piece, but they're great at the vision, they're great at execution, they're great at developing relationships, you've got to get some sort of fractional CFO on the phone with us to give an investor confidence that we're not investing in someone that's just got crazy numbers on an Excel spreadsheet that make no sense. And you start poking holes at it, and they really have no idea whether this business is going to make a lot of money or not. It's almost easier for me to answer the question to say one of the things that's a big flag to me is when, and this is a small point, but it's a big one, when people take out their marketing costs from their cost of goods. So I'll have somebody who's selling, let's say it's lipstick, and they'll say, oh, I'm doing so well. I'm making $600,000 a month. It's like, yeah, but you're spending X amount on digital advertising. So if you added that to your cost of goods, you're actually losing $100,000 a month.
That's good, because I was going to ask you what's a red flag that you come across. Okay, that's a good one. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's one. And when you're early on in a business, another red flag is, everybody wants to hold on to their equity. And I get it, because we also face the problem sometimes where we love the founder, we love the idea, but they have very little equity left. And so we're like, what's your incentive to stay in this business if we start investing in it? Because you might peace out and you're critical to the mission. So, there's, red flags. We could do an entire week of podcasts on red flags.
We could do that. We definitely need to do a longer episode, so we could do that one for sure. What's the boldest decision you've made thus far with Revenge Capital?
The branding. Yeah. I think naming
Everyone's
it
going to go and look at the branding now, right?
I think the name Revenge says a lot.
Yeah. It's
Very provocative. And the bigger issue here is that I felt like there was very little leadership that I was seeing in the UK and in the US where women were willing to put it, and I hate to say, I'm going to qualify that. People in general aren't willing necessarily like really put it on the line and create like an inspiring character that people can really get behind. What's like the inspiring concept? And whether this works or not, I have no idea. I think it is working. But I wanted to, it's not necessarily easy for me or natural for me, Alex, and you would think because I'm outspoken and extroverted, it would be. But how do you create a character that inspires people to take a look and take a pause? What I needed more so than women to be on board with the mission is other men, right? To kind of look up in the industry and go, what's this? And I've gotten a lot of I've gotten much more like, thank God you're out there. This is the new face of venture. We needed this. This is a breath of fresh air. And I could invent because I'm not from the industry. But I can tell you, I have had conversations with people who, were investment bankers and then went into private equity and then went into venture, or, been in finance their whole lives, who are like, what is this? And I'm like, I'm not your person. And like, you don't need to be on board with this, but this is the new face. This is what we need to be signaling to the market. If 97% of all venture capital dollars in the US go to men, people need to be provocative and stand up for what the fuck is going on there. And so Revenge is my personal mission and it was the team's mission to say, we're creatives. We're people from outside this industry that want to change something. We want to also model disruption.
Yeah, I was going to say to you, what was broken or what's still broken?
In the venture capital world.
Yeah.
I think, listen, the needle hasn't changed much in terms of investing. And it's a much bigger conversation why women traditionally haven't gotten the same kind of money as men. There's a confluence of factors there that don't just have to do with bias. But I do think if I put two people in a room, a female founding team and a male founding team with, the majority of venture capital firms, I watch guys raise money at a level who come to me and I can't believe with their pitches, their decks, their data rooms that they've gotten as far as they've gotten. Where I see women who have much tighter ships, much more interesting branding, better ideas. They're so quick to execute, they can't raise a dollar. I will say I have seen that firsthand.
That's good
And
to
I'm
call it. Yeah.
yeah, and it's really shocking and sad to me, but we're here to change that, and more women are raising funds. So there's not only is it about funding more entrepreneurs, it's about creating more of me. We need more women who are partners at venture firms, and we need more women further down the line in private equity, because it also gets very, very tight in private equity. So my companies are either going to go public or they're going to be bought by private equity, and I need women around those tables as well.
Yeah, good shout. Yeah. I'm going to ask you a couple more questions and then we'll do a quick fire round. So, looking back on your life, what screw it, just do it decision has changed your life the most? Big question, I know, but you've reinvented yourself a number of times. But I don't know if it was that conversation with Andrew that you said, or it was something like way back in the day. But if you could choose maybe one or two moments, what would those be now?
I think in my most recent history, it would certainly be taking a deep breath in that conversation when he said, "Why are we really meeting?" and putting myself on the line and telling him I want to raise a fund. I want my own fund. And he said, "How much?" And I said, 5 million. I think I said 5 or 10 million. I'll have to go back and ask
Oh,
him.
really? Did you?
Yeah, I think I don't think I lowballed myself, but
Right. Wow.
he came back
Wow.
with a
Yeah.
much bigger number. Thank God. It's so fun. So I think, but I remember taking a deep breath, and I've told this story before where I heard that, it sounds so cheesy, but I heard that Hamilton song in my head, right? Which was like, "Take Your Shot," from the Hamilton soundtrack. And I just remember taking a deep breath and kind of looking across the restaurant and looking back at him and just directly going for it. Cause I was like, fuck it. But I was also at a point where I was so frustrated with the UK market and the way that I felt like women were being treated, that I was like, I'm done. I'm out. So, it's like there's this moment where you're just like, I give up. Like, I'm done. I'm going back. I'm going to work in New York. I'm going to work in Miami. I could get more done in a day there than I can in a year in the UK. It feels like I'm out. So unless you give me, $10 million, I'm leaving this meeting and never coming back, and goodbye. So I think I had that weird hubris where you've just let go of the outcome. I think that was probably one of the biggest things. And then I also think I have those little moments of Screw It, Just Do It, where we just did a big photo shoot for a magazine in London, and we did all the creative direction for it, Charlotte and I, and we worked with this incredible team. And it's still so outside the industry of what we think the industry is supposed to look like. And there's all these moments in my head where I'm like, well, fuck it, I can do it. But it's a screw it, just do it moment. I mean, it's not, I know that what I'm doing is provocative.
I love it. If there's one thing you'd want your kids to know about taking action and not procrastinating, what would it be?
I'm going to reframe that question just for a second, because procrastination is actually an incredibly active thing.
Go on.
So we generally get taught that procrastination is bad, but procrastination, what are you doing while you're procrastinating? Thinking.
Yeah, okay. I like the reframe.
Cleaning your room, watching a Netflix show, taking a walk, going shopping. So we think of procrastination as sitting on a log and doing nothing, where it actually is an incredibly active thing. So I always say to my kids when I see them procrastinating, what's underneath it? What are you avoiding? What's like the deeper thing that you're doing? Or what are you actually pursuing that you like better than what you should be doing? And let's dive into that, because a lot of the stuff that I see that my kids have to do for school, I think is total bullshit and super boring. And I think with the emergence of AI, I look at some of the things that they do now. I'm like, thank God, because I had to sit and do that like just the annotations of notebooks that they're like using AI to do now, those long papers. We'll never, Alex, you and I will never get those hours back. And I'm so relieved for my own children that they don't have to spend hours doing shit that didn't really matter. And so I'm very kind of like open in my thinking about education, especially as an entrepreneur, because no one's ever asked where I've, and it matters in the sense that I'm able to have intelligent conversation with people. And when I'm on television and I can bring up sort of world history, and I know about politics and I know about social policy, and I'm able to articulate myself about US history or world history in a way that maybe other people can't because of my education. But I think a lot of stuff that our kids do is stupid, right? Or that we've had to do in the past has been stupid too. Yeah. So what I would tell my kids is watch me, watch mom take risk, watch mom fail, watch mom embarrass herself. And then my kids also are great in encouraging me to do stuff that makes me really nervous. I'm lucky. There was a time in parenting where they were embarrassed, and now they've kind of crossed the threshold. And I think that they really like to see me out there trying things. And my only hope is that it inspires them to not leave any stone unturned.
Yeah. Amen. Quick fire round, couple of questions to finish off. So whatever comes into your head, first answer, short and sweet. What is an entrepreneur?
I think an entrepreneur is just somebody who has a dream, who's willing to live it out.
Perfect. Why is the USA better at producing scale-ups and unicorns than the UK?
Mindset.
Great answer. Haven't had that one yet. What is a scale-up business?
One that has a lot of fucking customers.
That's the best answer I've ever heard. What can entrepreneurs look forward to when hearing you at the Festival of Entrepreneurs?
Oh, I think a laugh.
Definitely.
I think just no bullshit, like no bullshit. Because I don't know. I don't know what I don't know, right? I'm not from this. This is all like, we're all having fun together, exploring it. And I'm just like, as a therapist, like someone was doing something, I'd be like, that's fucked up. Like I will call it like I see it. You know, I am that girl. So I'm not like cushy. Like I'm like, okay, we're going to just call it like it is and laugh about it. So I think they're going to get that kind of vibe from me for sure.
From the outside looking in then, what does the UK need to do to get more startups?
I think a lot of people that I speak to, and I don't want to, because I hate this idea that I'm an American and we're better at this thing and I can come and like teach, and it's like so condescending because I learned so much from my UK counterparts as well. But I think one thing that we can all improve on always is teaching children that nothing is impossible. And I think the UK is very based around a service industry. And I think it's about changing sort of the fiber of the beings of kids or even people our age. And just somehow you say something. In therapy, you say 1,000 things. And I always say it's like throwing spaghetti against a wall. And then I could say one phrase to you that's just going to stick and completely change your life. But I have no idea what those phrases are. Right? We're constantly mining for those. And I'm sure you can look back on your own life, Alex, and go, oh my God, there's this one thing that someone said to me this one day that just changed everything. And that's the beauty of having conversations with people about your intimate things, about what you're dreaming about. And so to answer that question, I think we just need to keep having conversations like this because somebody's going to hear it and it's just going to start to get into the water a little bit more and people are going to start drinking the Kool-Aid, that they can open their minds to the possibility that a dream that they might have can come true. In part, though, the frustrating thing is you've got the people who have the dream, but there's no money to support the dreams. And that's what we also need to change more in the UK. That there has to be, like, you can't just tell people, like, have a dream, and they step into a dry river of capital. We actually have to have money moving in order to make those dreams come true for people. And I'm working on that side of it now.
You are indeed. And we look forward to hearing more about it and meeting you in person once again at the Festival of Entrepreneurs this October in the UK at Birmingham. So, Nell Daly, thank you very much indeed.
Oh, Alex, you're such a love. Thank you.
That conversation just proves something. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So here's my challenge. upgrade your network. The Festival of Entrepreneurs is happening October the 8th and 9th, and I'm giving my listeners free 2-day passes to get in the room with 5,000 to 10,000 entrepreneurs who are actually building something. This is where the risk takers, the game changers, and the people who've decided to screw it and just do it come for inspiration, education, and connection. Don't just listen to their success stories, go meet the people living them. Grab your free pass now, because the biggest risk isn't taking a chance, it's missing the opportunity entirely. If this conversation resonated with you, don't just sit there, act on it. Make sure you follow or subscribe for more game-changing conversations, and remember, the only thing standing between you and your business breakthrough is the decision to screw it and just do it.